My name is Samantha Hayes. I'm 32 years old. And I never thought my own sister would choose her husband over me after he beat me bloody. Natalie and I were inseparable growing up, which made her betrayal cut deeper than Derek's fists ever could. All because I wouldn't co-sign a mortgage I knew they couldn't afford. The officers who responded couldn't hide their shock at what he'd done to me, or that my sister defended him. Before I share how my own family turned against me, let me know where you're watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely. What I'm about to share changed everything. Growing up in suburban Massachusetts, Natalie and I were as close as sisters could be despite our 4-year age gap. I was the protective older sister, always looking out for her, especially after our parents' divorce when I was 16 and she was just 12. That traumatic period in our lives could have driven us apart, but instead, it cemented our bond. While our parents were busy untangling their lives, Natalie and I created our own support system. I still remember the nights I'd find her crying in her bedroom, confused about why our family was falling apart. I'd crawl into her twin bed, hug her close, and promise that no matter what happened with Mom and Dad, she would always have me. Sisters before misters became our mantra through high school and college, long before either of us had serious relationships. When Mom moved to an apartment across town and we had to split our time between two homes, we made a pact to always attend each other's important events, regardless of whose parenting day it was. I never missed a single one of Natalie's soccer games, and she was front row at my debate competitions. Our parents' failure to maintain their marriage taught us both the importance of loyalty and showing up for the people you love. After college, I pursued a career in financial advising, while Natalie explored various jobs before settling into marketing. My analytical mind and comfort with numbers led me to quick advancement in my firm. By 30, I was managing substantial client portfolios and had just received a promotion to senior advisor. My professional life was thriving, even if my personal life had recently hit a roadblock with the end of my 3-year relationship with Jason. My apartment in Boston wasn't large, but it was mine, carefully furnished with items I'd saved for, in a neighborhood I loved. Financial independence was something I valued highly, perhaps because I'd witnessed how my mother struggled after the divorce without her own income source. Natalie met Derek Turner at a friend's wedding 4 years ago. From the beginning, I voiced my concerns once, gently suggesting that perhaps they were rushing things. Natalie dismissed my worries with a laugh. "You're just being overprotective, Sam. Not everyone analyzes relationships like their investment portfolios." The comment stung, but I backed off. It was her life, her choice. I stood beside her at the altar, though Derek's employment history remained spotty. He'd worked somewhere for 6 to 8 months before quitting over some perceived slight or toxic workplace. Natalie always defended his decisions, claiming he was too talented to waste time with unappreciative employers. Meanwhile, my sister's marketing career provided their primary income stability. When Natalie called me sobbing with happiness to announce her pregnancy 7 months ago, I was genuinely thrilled for her. This baby would be the first grandchild in our family, and despite my complicated feelings about Derek, I knew Natalie would be an amazing mother. She'd always wanted children, talking about baby names since we played with dolls as kids. "We need to find a house, Sam," she told me over lunch the following week, her hand resting protectively over her still flat stomach. "We can't raise a baby in our 1-bedroom apartment." I understood completely and offered to help them search within their budget. What I didn't expect was how quickly they'd fall in love with a property well beyond their means. The colonial-style house with its white picket fence, spacious yard, and renovated interior was undeniably beautiful. Standing in the open-concept kitchen during the viewing, I watched Natalie's eyes light up as she described where the high chair would go, how they'd decorate the nursery, and the birthday parties they'd host in the backyard. "This is it, Sam," she whispered, squeezing my hand. "This is our family home." I smiled but felt a knot forming in my stomach when the realtor mentioned the asking price. It was at least $150,000, above what I knew they could reasonably afford on their combined income, especially with Derek's job history and a baby on the way. Later that night, Natalie called me, her voice bubbling with excitement. "We're putting in an offer tomorrow. Derek says we can make it work." I took a deep breath before responding. Are you sure that's the right move? This is our dream home, Sam. I can already picture our baby growing up there. The emotion in her voice was palpable, and I understood it completely. But as both her sister and a financial advisor, Natalie's voice sounded strained over the phone 3 weeks after they'd put in an offer on the house. To her surprise and excitement, the sellers had accepted their bid, contingent on financing approval within 30 days. I invited her to my apartment that evening, clearing my dining table to make space for the stacks of paperwork she brought. As we spread out the documents, I tried to maintain my professional demeanor despite my growing concerns. What's Derek's credit score looking like these days? I asked, trying to sound casual. Natalie shifted uncomfortably. It's not great. He had some issues with credit cards in college, and then there was that car that got repossessed before we met. She quickly added, but his history of employment gaps concerned me. With the baby coming, those income interruptions would be even more difficult to manage. The lender will look at job stability, I explained gently. And with the price point of this house, you're looking at a significant monthly payment. Have you calculated what that would be alongside childcare costs? Natalie's expression fell. The mortgage officer said Derek's credit history and job stability weren't sufficient for a loan this size. Her voice cracked. We're going to lose the house, Sam. We already told everyone we were buying it. My baby won't have a real home. My heart ached hearing her so distraught. Nat, take a deep breath. This isn't the end. There are other houses. No. I spent nearly an hour calming her down, promising to look into alternatives. After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone, a sense of dread building in my chest. I knew what was coming next. Had prepared his signature pasta dish and opened an expensive bottle of wine, which Natalie couldn't drink due to her pregnancy. After dessert, they exchanged a look before Derek cleared his throat. Hearing it spoken aloud still sent a chill through me. I understand this is a big ask. Natalie jumped in, misinterpreting my silence. But it's just a formality. We'll make every payment. You'll never have to worry about it. We're family. But co-signing isn't a formality. It's a major financial commitment that would affect my own borrowing power and financial security. I need some time to think about this. Derek's expression hardened slightly, but Natalie squeezed his hand. Of course, take all the time you need. We just need an answer by Friday to keep our contract valid. That gave me 3 days, hardly enough time for such a significant decision, but I knew pushing back would only create tension. The next morning, I contacted a colleague in the mortgage department of my firm, asking hypothetically about the situation without naming names. His response confirmed my concerns. Co-signing in these circumstances is extremely risky, he warned. If they've already been rejected, the lenders see something concerning. And if your potential co-signer has employment instability, you'd essentially be taking on the entire financial burden if anything goes wrong. During my lunch break, I discreetly ran a more thorough credit check on Derek using resources available through my work. What I found alarmed me. In addition to the issues Natalie had mentioned, there were multiple collection accounts and a pattern of late payments stretching back years, including some very recent ones. This wasn't just past irresponsibility. It was ongoing financial mismanagement. That evening, I consulted my mentor, Linda, who had guided my career for years. After explaining the situation, she looked at me seriously. Samantha, you know what you need to do. This isn't just about the money. It's about enabling behavior that could harm everyone involved, including your sister and her child. Sometimes the most caring thing you can do is say no. I spent that night calculating scenarios, reviewing my professional ethics obligations, and wrestling with my competing desires to support my sister and protect both of us from a potentially disastrous financial decision. By morning, I'd reached the only conclusion my conscience would allow. I texted Natalie asking to meet for coffee, just the two of us. This conversation needed to happen face to face, and without Derek's influence. The coffee shop near Natalie's workplace was busier than I'd hoped. Finding a relatively quiet corner table. You've decided to do it, she exclaimed, sliding into the seat across from me. I knew you'd come through for us. I reached for her hand across the table. Nat, I've given this a lot of thought. And I can't co-sign the mortgage. Her smile vanished. What? Why not? I've looked carefully at the financial situation, I explained gently. The payments would be stretching you too thin, especially with the baby coming. If anything happened, if Derek lost his job again or you had unexpected expenses, you could lose everything and my financial security would be jeopardized too. And I can't in good conscience do it either, especially not when it affects my sister and future niece or nephew. Natalie's eyes welled with tears. So you'll help strangers with their finances but not your own family? We need this house, Sam. It's everything to us. I want to help you find a house that works for your budget, I offered. Something you can afford comfortably without putting all of us at risk. There are first-time homebuyer programs we could look into, or... Her phone rang, cutting me off. She glanced at the screen, then answered with a tight hey. From her clipped responses, I knew she was talking to Derek. After a moment, she said, I'm with Sam now. No, she's not going to help us. Her voice broke on the last words. I could hear his raised voice through the phone, though not his exact words. Natalie winced. I'll be home soon, she said, finally ending the call. She stood up, gathering her purse. I have to go. Natalie, please don't leave like this. Let's talk about alternatives. There are no alternatives, she snapped. That house is our future. And you just destroyed it. Thanks for nothing, Sam. She stormed out, leaving me sitting alone with 2 barely touched drinks and a heavy heart. I spent the rest of the afternoon distracted at work. I was curled up on my couch with takeout and mindless television when a sharp, insistent knocking startled me. Through the peephole I saw Derek, his face tight with anger. I hesitated before opening the door, leaving the security chain engaged. Derek? What are you doing here? We need to talk, he said, his voice controlled but tense. Let me in, Sam. Against my better judgment, I unlatched the chain and opened the door. Derek pushed past me into the apartment, his body language aggressive. Natalie is at home crying because of you. He started, pacing my living room. Do you have any idea what you've done? I made a difficult decision to protect all of us, I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. That mortgage would be too much financial strain with a baby coming. I'm trying to help you both see that. Derek laughed bitterly. Help? You think denying us our dream home is helping? This is about control. You've always tried to control Natalie's life. That's not true, I protested. I love Natalie. I want what's best for her. Little Miss Financial Advisor thinks she knows better than everyone else. I took a deep breath. Derek, I understand you're upset, but this is my professional assessment. The numbers don't work. If you lost your job again, he snapped, stepping toward me. What's that supposed to mean? You've had 5 jobs in 3 years, I stated firmly, digging into my financial history behind my back. I had to make an informed decision about co-signing for hundreds of thousands of dollars, I explained, trying to de-escalate. Let go of me, I demanded, shocked by the sudden physical contact. Instead of releasing me, he shoved me hard against the wall. My head snapped back, hitting the plaster with a sickening thud. You think you're better than me? He snarled, his face inches from mine. You sit in your perfect apartment judging us, thinking you know everything. Fear paralyzed me for a crucial moment. When I tried to push him away, he grabbed both my wrists, pinning them against the wall. Derek, stop, I shouted. This is assault. Something in him snapped. He released my wrists only to deliver a sharp, stunning slap across my face. The force of it knocked me sideways. Before I could recover, his fist connected with my eye. Pain exploded through my head as I fell to the floor. You ruined everything, he shouted, kicking me in the ribs as I tried to curl into a protective ball. You couldn't just help your own sister. My neighbor's concerned voice called through the door. I heard shouting and things banging around. Derek froze, suddenly aware of his actions. He released my hair, letting my head drop to the floor. This isn't over, he whispered menacingly. You've destroyed our family. I'll make sure Natalie knows exactly who you really are. He straightened his clothes and stepped over me toward the door. I lay on the floor, too stunned and injured to move. He paused at the doorway, looking back at me with cold contempt. Nobody will believe you anyway. You've always been jealous of what Natalie and I have. The door slammed behind him. I heard him exchange a few casual words with my concerned neighbor, smoothly explaining away the disturbance as a heated family discussion. After they both left, I dragged myself to my phone, my vision blurred by tears and blood from my split lip. The dispatcher's calm voice guided me through the next steps while I pressed a kitchen towel to my bleeding face. Sitting on the floor, leaning against my kitchen cabinets, I felt utterly broken, not just physically but emotionally. Never in my worst nightmares had I imagined Derek capable of such violence, or that my life could shatter so completely in a matter of minutes. When the police arrived 15 minutes later, one officer, a woman named Rodriguez, gasped audibly at my appearance. "Ma'am." As paramedics examined me and officers photographed my injuries and took my statement, I kept thinking of Natalie, pregnant, vulnerable, and married to a man who had just demonstrated exactly what he was capable of when angered. My pain was excruciating, but my fear for my sister was infinitely worse. The emergency room's harsh fluorescent lighting made everything seem surreal. I sat on the edge of an examination table, wincing as a doctor gently cleaned the cut on my cheekbone. She informed me, "We have officers looking for your brother-in-law now. Do you have someone who can stay with you tonight? You shouldn't be alone." I called my parents, struggling to keep my voice steady as I explained what had happened. My mother's cry of horror pierced through the phone, followed by my father's stream of profanities and promises to be there immediately. When they arrived an hour later, my mother burst into tears at the sight of me. My face was swollen, one eye nearly shut, with 5 stitches closing the gash on my cheekbone. The hospital gown revealed dark bruises forming on my arms and collarbone. "My baby," she sobbed, carefully embracing me. "Who did this to you?" Though I'd already told them over the phone, seeing the evidence of Derek's violence made it real for them in a new way. "Has anyone called Natalie?" I asked weakly. I answered and put it on speaker. "What the hell are you doing?" Her voice was cold, accusatory. "Derek said you went crazy when he tried to talk to you about the house. Now there are cops looking for him." "Natalie," I whispered, my split lip making it painful to speak. "I'm in the emergency room. Derek attacked me. He beat me unconscious." "That's ridiculous," she snapped. "Derek would never hurt anyone. He said you were hysterical, that you threatened to ruin our lives if we didn't drop the house thing. Your sister has 5 stitches in her face." My father interjected angrily. "She has bruises everywhere. How can you possibly believe she did this to herself?" "You're all against him, you always have been," Natalie responded, pain shooting through my ribs with the effort. "Natalie, he's dangerous. I'm worried about you and the baby. Don't you dare bring my baby into this," she hissed. "You're just jealous because I have a family of my own now and you don't. Your relationship failed, so you want to destroy mine too." Her words hurt more than any physical injury Derek had inflicted. "How can you say that?" I whispered. "Stay away from us, Samantha. All of you just stay away. We don't need your help or your judgment." The call ended abruptly, leaving us in stunned silence. My mother reached for my hand, tears streaming down her face. "She'll come around," she assured me, though uncertainty tinged her voice. "Once she sees the evidence, once she has time to think." But as days passed, Natalie didn't come around. Instead, she doubled down on her defense of Derek. He turned himself into police the next morning, claiming I had attacked him after he refused to let me control their finances. Despite the photographic evidence of my injuries and lack of any marks on him, Natalie supported his version of events. What followed was a nightmare of divided loyalty among our extended family and friends. While my parents stood firmly by my side, our aunts, uncles, and cousins split into factions. Some visited me, horrified by my injuries and supportive of pressing charges. Others sided with Natalie, suggesting I must have provoked Derek somehow or exaggerated what happened. Most painful were the social media posts that began appearing on Natalie's accounts. Vague references to toxic family members, and people who pretend to support you while secretly undermining your happiness. She never named me directly, but her meaning was clear to anyone who knew us. I took a 2-week leave from work, both to recover physically, and because I couldn't bear the sympathetic glances and whispered conversations that stopped when I entered a room. My bruises faded from purple to yellow-green. But the emotional wounds only seemed to deepen. After 3 weeks of silence from my sister, I made the decision to go to her apartment. Multiple people advised against it: my parents, Officer Rodriguez, even my therapist, whom I'd started seeing to cope with the trauma. But I couldn't accept that 28 years of sisterhood could end this way. I chose a time when I knew Derek would be at work, texting Natalie to warn her I was coming over. She didn't respond, but I went anyway, my heart pounding as I knocked on her door. When she opened it, her hand instinctively went to her mouth. Despite having seen photos, she seemed unprepared for the reality of my healing but still visible injuries. "Can I come in?" I asked quietly. "Please, Nat. 5 minutes." She stepped aside wordlessly, one hand resting on her now visible baby bump. The apartment was in disarray, dishes piled in the sink, laundry unfolded on the couch. Natalie had always been meticulous about housekeeping. "Are you okay?" I asked, noticing the dark circles under her eyes. "I'm fine," she replied stiffly. "What do you want, Sam?" "I want my sister back," I said simply, my voice breaking. "I want you to believe me." She shook her head. "Derek explained everything. You're twisting what happened because you've never approved of him." "Look at my face," I pleaded. "Look at what he did to me." The doctors documented everything: multiple broken ribs, concussion, facial lacerations. How could I possibly have done this to myself? "He said you attacked him first, that he was just defending himself," she insisted, though doubt flickered across her face. "Natalie, he outweighs me by at least 70 pounds. Even if I had attacked him, which I absolutely did not, does this look like self-defense to you?" I gestured to my still healing face. She turned away. "You should leave." "Please," I begged, tears streaming down my face. "Think about what you know about me, about him. In all our lives, have I ever given you reason not to trust me? Has Derek never shown signs of anger, of controlling behavior?" Something in her expression shifted, a momentary crack in her certainty. Pressed on, desperate to reach her. "I'm not asking you to leave him. I'm just asking you to consider the possibility that what I'm saying is true. That's all." I took a step toward her, and to my shock, she flinched away, a reflexive movement she immediately tried to disguise as reaching for something on the counter. That small, instinctive reaction told me everything I needed to know. "Has he hurt you too?" I whispered. "Don't be ridiculous," she snapped, but wouldn't meet my eyes. "Derek would never hurt me or the baby." "Natalie, you need to go," she interrupted firmly. "Derek will be home soon, and he has a restraining order against you." "A restraining order?" I echoed incredulously. "He's the one who attacked me." "That's not what the judge decided," she replied coldly. "If you're not gone when Derek gets back, he'll call the police. Is that what you want?" I collapsed to my knees then, the emotional pain finally overwhelming me. "Please, Natalie," I sobbed, reaching for her hand. "Please don't do this. We're sisters. We promised we'd always be there for each other." She pulled away, her expression hardening even as tears filled her eyes. "You broke that promise when you refused to help us get our home. When you chose your precious financial principles over family." "I was trying to protect you," I cried, still on my knees. "Both of you. I never wanted this to happen." The sound of keys in the door froze us both. Derek entered. "This is a violation of the restraining order." "Derek, don't," Natalie interjected. "She's going." His eyes narrowed. "What did she say to you?" "More lies about me." "Nothing," Natalie assured him, moving to his side. "Nothing important." The look of submission on my sister's face as she placated him broke something inside me. This wasn't the strong, vibrant Natalie I knew. This was someone diminished, walking on eggshells in her own home. As I left their apartment, the full weight of what had happened crashed down on me. I hadn't just lost a battle over a mortgage or suffered a physical attack. I had lost my sister to a man who had somehow convinced her that his violence was justified, and my concern was betrayal. Sitting in my car outside their building, I wept until I had no tears left, mourning not just my own pain but what I now recognized as my sister's silent suffering. Returning to work proved more difficult than I anticipated. Though my physical injuries were healing, Unexpected triggers would send me spiraling into panic. A male colleague raising his voice in a meeting, the sound of a door slamming, a surprise touch on my shoulder from behind. Each incident left me shaking, struggling to breathe, fighting the flashback of Derek's rage-contorted face. After an embarrassing episode where I dropped to the floor in the break room when someone dropped a tray of mugs, my boss called me into her office. "Samantha," she said gently, "I think you need more time. What you experienced was traumatic, and rushing back isn't helping you heal." I started to protest. Work had always been my sanctuary, the place where I felt competent and in control. But she raised her hand to stop me. "This isn't a suggestion." I agreed. The next day, I increased my therapy sessions from weekly to twice weekly. Dr. Marshall specialized in trauma, and she helped me understand that my reactions weren't weakness, but my body's natural response to violence. "You're experiencing post-traumatic stress," she explained. "Your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode, constantly scanning for threats. It's going to take time to teach it that you're safe again." During one particularly difficult session, the restraining order he got against me makes me look like the aggressor. "That's a common tactic of abusers," Dr. Marshall noted. "They flip the narrative, claim self-defense, and paint the victim as unstable or violent. But the medical evidence supports your account. Have you considered pursuing charges despite the challenges?" I hesitated. Marshall reminded me firmly. "He chose to assault you. Any legal repercussions are the result of his choices, not yours." Her words stayed with me. That evening I called Officer Rodriguez. "I think that's the right decision, Ms. Hayes. We have strong evidence with your medical records and the photographs. I'll contact the district attorney's office tomorrow." The legal process moved slowly. I gave formal statements, met with prosecutors, and prepared for the possibility of testifying in court. Through it all, my phone rang with Natalie's number. My heart raced as I answered. "Sam." Her voice sounded small, hesitant. "I saw the medical report. Your doctor sent it as part of the case." I waited. There was a long silence. "I need to see you," she finally said. "Not at your place or mine. Somewhere public." We agreed to meet at a park halfway between our homes the following day. I arrived early, claiming a bench with good visibility in all directions. When Natalie appeared, walking slowly with her now prominent pregnancy, I had to resist the urge to run to her. She began, staring at her hands. "About Derek showing signs before. There have been incidents. Nothing like what happened to you, but moments where he scared me." Hope fluttered in my chest. "What kind of moments?" "Punching walls when he's angry. Breaking my favorite mug once during an argument." She paused. "Controlling behaviors, checking my phone, questioning where I've been. Getting upset if I spend money without telling him." I reached for her hand tentatively. This time she didn't pull away. "The worst part is, I'm starting to think you were right about the house too," she admitted. "We couldn't afford it. I just wanted it so badly. I convinced myself Derek could make it work somehow." "Oh, Nat," I said softly. "I never wanted to be right about any of this." She finally looked at me, really looked at me, taking in the fading bruises and the scar forming along my cheekbone. "I should have believed you from the beginning. I just couldn't face what it would mean if what you said was true." "I understand," I assured her, squeezing her hand. "Denial is a powerful force." "I've been having complications with the pregnancy," she confessed, her free hand moving protectively to her belly. "The doctor says it's stress-related. I'm supposed to be on bed rest, but Derek gets angry if the house isn't perfect when he comes home." Alarm bells rang in my head. "Natalie, this isn't safe for you or the baby. I can't just leave." "What do you need from me?" I asked, willing to do anything to help her. She took a deep breath. "The prosecutor called Derek yesterday. They're moving forward with assault charges against him." Her eyes met mine. "He's furious, Sam. He's blaming you for everything. He says if you drop the charges, he'll consider letting me see you again." The ultimatum hung in the air between us. Drop the charges, let Derek escape consequences for his violence, in exchange for access to my sister. "What do you want me to do?" I asked carefully. Natalie looked away. "He said you have until tomorrow to decide." if you don't drop the charges. He says we're moving away. Somewhere you can never find us. A chill ran through me at the implied threat. Natalie, that's not just controlling, that's isolation, a classic abuse tactic. I know that, she snapped, then immediately softened. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do anymore. Part of me wants you to drop the charges so I don't lose you again. But another part. We parted with a careful hug, Natalie promising to call me from a friend's phone the next day. I drove home in a daze, torn between the desperate desire to protect my sister and the knowledge that giving in to Derek's demands would only embolden him. That night was the darkest of my life. I nearly called the prosecutor to withdraw my complaint. I finally collapsed into bed around 3 in the morning, emotionally exhausted. When I awoke a few hours later, clarity had somehow emerged from the chaos of my thoughts. Dropping the charges wouldn't save Natalie. And I need to discuss getting protection for my sister. I believe she's in danger. For the first time since the attack, I felt something close to peace. Not because the path ahead would be easy, it would likely be the hardest thing our family had ever faced, but because I finally understood that true love sometimes meant standing firm rather than giving in. I couldn't save Natalie by surrendering to Derek's demands. I could only save her by showing her that standing up to abuse was possible, necessary, and worth the cost. 3 days after our meeting in the park, Natalie still hadn't called. Each hour of silence increased my anxiety, but I resisted the urge to reach out, knowing Derek was monitoring her communications. Instead, I channeled my nervous energy into working with Officer Rodriguez to document the threats Derek had made through Natalie. On the 4th day, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Miss Hayes? This is Officer Benton with Boston PD. We've arrested Derek Turner. My heart stopped. Is Natalie okay? Your sister is fine, he assured me. We discovered there's also an outstanding warrant from Rhode Island. Previous assault charges from 2 years ago that he skipped bail on. Previous assault charges. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Derek had done this before. Is he in custody now? I asked urgently. Yes, ma'am. Given the multiple charges and the bail jumping, the judge denied bail this morning. He'll remain in custody until trial. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by concern for Natalie. Has anyone checked on my sister? An officer visited the residence this morning to inform her of her husband's arrest. She seemed, well, shaken but not entirely surprised. After thanking Officer Benton, I immediately tried calling Natalie. To my shock, she answered on the second ring. Sam. Her voice was thick with tears. Can you come over? I need you. I drove to her apartment in record time, finding the door already unlocked. Natalie sat on the couch surrounded by tissues, her eyes red and swollen from crying. When she saw me, she burst into fresh tears. He hurt someone before me, letting her cry against my shoulder. I'm so sorry, Nat. How did I not see it? She asked between sobs. There were so many signs. The jealousy, the control, the way he isolated me from friends. I thought it was because he loved me so much. Abusers are manipulative, I told her gently. They're experts at making their control seem like love. She pulled back to look at me. Her expression haunted. After they arrested him, I found things on his computer. Emails to realtors in Arizona. He was planning to move us there next month, without telling me until the last minute. He was going to cut me off from everyone I know. The confirmation of my worst fears sent a chill through me. Natalie, I want you to come stay with me or with Mom and Dad. Just until you figure things out. To my relief, she nodded. I already called Mom this morning. She's coming to help me pack some things. She placed her hand on her stomach. The baby's been kicking like crazy since I heard about Derek's arrest. It's like she knows something's changed. I asked, momentarily distracted. A small smile broke through Natalie's tears. Yeah, I found out last week. It's a girl. Over the next few days, we fell into a new routine. Natalie moved into our parents' house temporarily. Watching Natalie slowly emerge from Derek's shadow was like witnessing a flower unfurling after a long winter. Painful at times, but ultimately beautiful. 2 weeks after Derek's arrest, Natalie asked me to accompany her to her therapy appointment. Dr. Winters, a specialist in domestic abuse recovery, Had been seeing her twice weekly. I want you to be part of my healing, Natalie explained. And I think I need to be part of yours too. During that session, we both cried as Natalie acknowledged the full extent of Derek's manipulation, how he had gradually isolated her, undermined her confidence, and turned her against the people who truly loved her. He would tell me things about you, Sam, she admitted, unable to meet my eyes. How you were jealous of our relationship, how you thought you were better than us because of your job. He'd twist everything you said into proof that you didn't respect him. Classic triangulation, Dr. Winters noted. Abusers often target the victim's strongest relationships first, because those connections pose the greatest threat to their control. After the session, we sat in my car, emotionally drained but somehow lighter. I want to be there when you testify. I need to do this for you, for me, and for her. She patted her growing belly. I need her to be born into a world where I stood up against abuse, not one where I enabled it. Armed with my medical records, photographs, and now testimony from Derek's previous victim, who had been located in Rhode Island, refused to consider any deal that didn't include jail time. On the day I was scheduled to testify, Natalie sat directly behind me in the courtroom, my parents flanking her protectively. Derek, in his orange jumpsuit, wouldn't look at any of us. As I recounted the events of that terrible night, my voice occasionally broke, but I didn't falter. I described Derek's rage, the savage beating, the threats he made before leaving. When asked why I believed he attacked me, I spoke the simple truth. Because I refused to co-sign a mortgage I knew they couldn't afford. I was trying to protect my sister and her unborn child from financial disaster, and Derek saw it as a challenge to his control. Derek's lawyer tried to paint me as interfering in their marriage, suggesting I had provoked the confrontation out of jealousy or resentment. The strategy backfired when the prosecutor presented evidence of Derek's pattern of isolation and control, including text messages he'd sent Natalie disparaging me long before the mortgage issue arose. The most powerful moment came when the judge asked if I had anything to add before concluding my testimony. I looked directly at Derek for the first time. What you did to me was terrible. Mandatory completion of a batterer's intervention program, and permanent restraining orders protecting both Natalie and me. As we left the courthouse, Natalie squeezed my hand. I want to find an apartment near yours, she said. Something small but safe, where I can raise my daughter independently. Over the next months, that's exactly what we did. With her divorce proceedings underway and her share of their modest savings secured, Natalie found a cozy one-bedroom apartment just 10 minutes from mine. I helped her create a realistic budget and financial plan that would allow her to work part-time after the baby came while building emergency savings. Our parents transformed the apartment's second closet into a nursery nook, painting it sunshine yellow and assembling a crib that had been mine as a baby. Friends and family who had stood by us through the ordeal contributed baby supplies, clothes, and gift cards to help Natalie establish her new home. As her due date approached, Natalie asked me to be her birthing partner. There's no one else I want with me, she said simply. You're the strongest person I know. On a warm September morning, after 14 hours of labor, I stood beside my sister as she brought her daughter into the world. When the nurse placed the tiny squirming bundle on Natalie's chest, we both wept with joy. Meet your Aunt Samantha. We celebrated little Emma's first birthday in the backyard of my new house, one I had purchased after my own promotion to management at the financial firm. Natalie had returned to work part-time while taking online classes to finish her marketing degree. She had transformed from the fearful, to our parents chatting with neighbors, to the modest but happy gathering. This is real. This is ours. Later, as guests departed and Emma napped inside, Natalie and I sat on the porch swing, shoulders touching comfortably. I never thanked you properly, she said quietly, for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on you. You never have to thank me for that, I assured her. Some bonds can bend under incredible strain without breaking. That's what we have. Sisters before misters, she laughed, echoing our childhood mantra. Always, I agreed, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of pink and gold. The path to healing hadn't been easy for either of us. There were still nights I woke from nightmares of Derek's attack. Days when Natalie struggled with guilt over having stayed with him despite the warning signs. But we faced these challenges together, stronger for having survived the storm that nearly tore us apart. I learned that standing up for what's right, even when it costs you dearly in the short term, is always the path to follow. True love isn't about enabling harmful behavior or sacrificing your principles to keep the peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stand firm, speak truth, and trust that authentic relationships will survive the challenge. If you're watching this and find yourself in a situation where someone is trying to isolate you from loved ones, where disagreement is met with rage rather than respect, please know that you deserve better. Real love uplifts, it doesn't diminish. Real family supports your growth. It doesn't demand your submission. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of healing and transformation.